Today, we're looking at a green ink by Monteverde Yosemite Green. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can follow me on Instagram, and if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then inked up this Pilot Metropolitan with a 1.0 stub nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper in this first writing sample. There will be more writing samples on different papers later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting, that's transfer because I'm sloppy. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is just a little bit lighter than the extra fine. With no feather, spread, halo sheen, it does offer sprinklings of shading throughout, which are quite nice, 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows no color variation, the medium shows some, and that's how it works in the writing. See, I can't spell. Tomoe River, no bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting, still can't spell. Nope, says I can spell, no, and nope, still there, still says I can't spell. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, good lord, get in, what in the world, get out of the way, you're distracting now. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little lighter than the stub, quite a bit lighter than the stub, really, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 20 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get it in the writing. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit darker than the extra fine, a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation, and we didn't get it in the writing. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see a very nice, pretty green that goes very light, working its way up and gathering towards the top. And at the top, we get a very dark blue. Now the one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And there's very little difference between the two of them other than the green moved a little slower as it came up. What's there from the water up to where the true green is slightly darker. Really, there's no difference between the two of them other than that I marked it. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, that is ridiculous how blown out and feathery it is. That's crazy. Don't use that in a note-taking situation. That would be bad. Now water is completely reactivating and lifting this off the page. Water is all that it took to get it out of my pen, which explains why it responded the way it did to highlighters. Pen flush is doing everything that water did and nothing more. Both of them, you just see the beginnings of the water, the white of the paper coming through. Again, water is all that it took to get it out of my pen. 1/3 bleach solution, completely removed it from the paper, but you're not going to need it to get it out of your pen, because I didn't. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link the video on how I do that. Now, for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Monteverde's Yosemite Green has a viscosity of 2.09, making it a wetter ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Monteverde's Yosemite Green has an average dry time of 11 seconds, making it a faster drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Monteverde's Yosemite Green, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page, like a nice dusty black tone. So I went with Birmingham Pen Company's Allegheny Arsenal Gunpowder Black. The second writing sample is done on Apica CD, Leuchtturm 1917, and 16-pound Mead notebook paper. Here we're looking at Apica notebook. The Apica CD notebooks, I do enjoy them, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, a very nice sprinkles of shading throughout. Just some dark letters here and there like the K, the B, the F, the P. Nice. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and still very nice shading like we got with the extra fine. Nice peppering of dark letters. 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show some color variation left to right, which is what we got in the writing. Leuchtturm 1917 journals, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is a tad darker than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 18 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any in the writing. And last up is Mead notebooks. It's actually 16-pound paper, a little bit lighter than the cheap copy paper. Medium obviously has quite a bit of show through. It's bleeding into but not through. It's not touching the page underneath. The extra fine has spots that are coming through quite heavy, but it's not coming through and it's not touching the back of the page. Just a lot of ghosting that would probably stop you from using the back of the paper. It would stop me. Now the medium has a ridiculous amount of feathering that's going on. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the medium. It has no feathering, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, and it only takes a second to dry. The scrubby shows no color variation, and there wasn't any, and that is all that there is for writing samples. So what do I think of Monteverde's Yosemite Green? This is a very interesting green to write with. It doesn't offer a lot of shading, but it does give a very nice tone on the page. I've really enjoyed using it the entire time, despite the fact that it hasn't had that shading that I prefer. What nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I found a medium flow, medium nib really put down the most pleasant tone for me, where a very wet pen just made the green darker than I would like. If you've enjoyed this video, remember, I like thumbs up, you like thumbs up, everybody likes thumbs up. Unless you didn't like it, then give me the thumbs down. Both are good. Thanks for watching. At this point, I have to wonder how many people kept getting into the comments telling me I was mispronouncing Yosemite as Yosemite. I just thought it would be funny, and I gave myself a note to do that the whole time, just for giggles and grins. By the way, I'm through that Hippo notebook, and I'm now on to life paper for taking my notes.